I wasn't born a monster, I was made one. Piece by piece, word by word, every betrayal and every smirk that followed my failure shaped me into something they could no longer understand. I remember the days when I believed in people, when I thought kindness could heal cruelty. But the world has a way of teaching you lessons that cut deeper than knives. It took my trust and turned it into armor. It took my heart and turned it into fire. They thought breaking me would end me, that if they tore me down enough times, I would stay on the ground and never rise again. What they didn't realize was that pain doesn't destroy everyone. Some of us learn to live inside it until it becomes our strength. I stopped asking why. I stopped waiting for anyone to save me. The same darkness they pushed me into became my training ground. And now, from the very ashes they left me in, I am rebuilding, stronger and colder than before. They created the monster they now fear, and it's time they see what their creation has become. There was a time when I believed in people. I believed that good intentions always led to good outcomes, that if you were honest and kind, the world would return that energy back to you. I trusted too easily. I opened my heart to those who spoke sweetly, never realizing that some smiles hide sharp edges. Back then, I thought loyalty meant something. I thought promises were sacred. I gave my time, my effort, and my faith to people who only saw me as a stepping stone for their own comfort. Slowly, the cracks began to show. The same people who once stood beside me were the first to disappear when I needed them most. The laughter I once shared with them turned into whispers behind my back. Every failure became their entertainment. Every pain I tried to hide became their favorite story to tell. The world that once felt bright and full of meaning began to darken, piece by piece. I tried to hold on. I tried to forgive. But forgiveness, it loses its power when betrayal becomes a pattern. Eventually, I stopped asking why. I started listening to the quiet voice inside me that whispered, "Stop caring. Stop trusting. Stop giving them power." That voice grew louder each day until it drowned out the last pieces of hope I had left. Love felt like a weapon I had handed to my enemies. Trust felt like a trap waiting to close. The warmth I once carried began to fade, replaced by a cold clarity I had never known before. That was the moment everything changed, when I realized that the world doesn't care about how kind you are. It only respects how strong you become after being broken. The pain they caused me didn't end me. It awakened me. They wanted to destroy me. But all they did was build the monster that now refuses to fall again. There came a moment when the pain became too heavy to carry, when the weight of disappointment and betrayal crushed everything soft that was left inside me. I remember staring at myself in the mirror, barely recognizing the reflection that looked back. My eyes were hollow, my spirit drained, and for the first time, I saw the truth. The person I once was no longer existed. Every tear, every wound, every silent scream had burned away the innocence that used to live inside me. What was left was something colder, sharper, and infinitely stronger. That night, something inside me shifted. It was not loud or violent. It was quiet, like a fire starting in the dark. I stopped seeing myself as a victim. I stopped chasing people's approval. I stopped explaining my worth to those who only saw me as weak. All the pain they gave me began to turn into something else. It became energy. It became focus. It became the fuel I needed to rise. For the first time, I understood that no one was coming to save me. If I wanted to change my story, I had to become the one who rewrote it. I looked back at everything I had lost, and instead of sadness, I felt power. I realized that every scar was proof that I had survived what was meant to destroy me. The fire they thought would consume me only made me harder to break. That was the moment I stopped running from my darkness and started walking through it. I accepted the version of myself they feared, not as a curse, but as a rebirth. They broke my heart, thinking it would end me. But all they did was feed the fire that would one day light my rise. The day I decided to rise, everything around me changed. The noise of judgment, the weight of the past, the voices that once held power over me began to fade into silence. I no longer looked for acceptance in places that once rejected me. I stopped waiting for people to recognize my worth because I had finally seen it for myself. The same pain that once dragged me down became the fire that pushed me forward. Every scar became a symbol of survival, every wound a lesson that shaped my strength. They wanted me broken, but I became unbreakable. Isolation became my greatest teacher. When no one stood by me, I learned how to stand alone. In the quiet, I found clarity. I began to see the world for what it was, not what I wished it to be. I realized that strength is not about pretending to be untouched by pain. It is about carrying it with pride and still choosing to move. Every setback became a challenge I refused to lose against. I trained my mind to stay calm in chaos, my heart to stay focused in pain, and my spirit to rise when everything else fell apart. People still tried to judge me by the version of myself they once knew. They whispered about my past, but I smiled because they were stuck there while I had already moved far beyond it. I no longer reacted to their words. I no longer gave energy to their doubt. I had learned that silence is more powerful than explanation. My actions became my voice. My resilience became my revenge. What they built to destroy me became the foundation of my strength. What they took from me only cleared the space for something greater to grow. I no longer feared being called a monster, because monsters survive what others cannot. Through darkness, I found clarity. Through pain, I found purpose. Through scars, I found power. They made me into something they cannot break, and now they will have no choice but to watch me rise. Being called a monster used to bother me. It used to make me question if I had truly become something terrible. But with time, I began to understand that the word monster does not always mean evil. Sometimes it simply means different. It means you stopped playing by their rules. It means you stopped bowing to their expectations. Society fears what it cannot control, and when you stop fitting into the roles they built for you, they give you a name that separates you from them. They call you a monster because your strength reminds them of their weakness. The truth is, becoming this version of myself brought both peace and loneliness. When you stop pretending to be someone you are not, the crowd that once surrounded you begins to fade. The silence feels heavy at first, but eventually it becomes comforting. It becomes freedom. No one can use what you no longer hide. No one can hurt what no longer seeks approval. The same solitude they tried to use against me became the space where I rebuilt my identity. Sometimes I still ask myself, was I really the villain, or just the one who stopped pretending to be fragile for their comfort? They needed me to stay broken because my healing exposed their lies. Being a monster is not about cruelty or revenge. It is about evolution. It is about standing in your truth, even when the world fears it. So if being free, focused, and untouchable makes me a monster, then I have finally become everything I was meant to be. To those who once stood against me, I know you remember the version of me that was soft and trusting, the one who believed your promises and took your words as truth. You saw my kindness as weakness and my silence as surrender. You pushed, you mocked, and you watched as I fell apart, thinking it was over for me. You were wrong. What you destroyed was only the surface. What you broke forced me to rebuild, and in that rebuilding, I became something far stronger than what you ever imagined. You made me a monster, but monsters do not break. They rebuild. You taught me to stop seeking validation, You taught me that loyalty without respect is a trap. You taught me that pain can become power when you learn how to use it. I should thank you for showing me who you truly were, because in losing you, I found myself. I no longer hate you. I no longer care to prove anything to you. I see now that you played your part in my story perfectly. You were the fire that burned me, but I became the flame that cannot be put out. The difference is simple. You tried to hurt me to feel powerful. I learned to rise from that pain to become unstoppable. And now, I do not need revenge. My existence, my growth, my peace is enough. There was a time when I believed being broken meant the end of everything. I thought the pain would define me, that the scars would never fade, and that the world would always see me as weak. But I was wrong. Being broken was only the beginning. It was the moment I was stripped of illusion, of fake people, of false promises. It was the moment life gave me a choice. Stay down or rise and rebuild into something stronger. I chose to rise. Maybe they tried to break you too. Maybe they made you doubt your worth, or made you believe that you were not enough. But listen closely. You are not weak for feeling pain. You are powerful for surviving it. Every betrayal that cut you, every failure that crushed you, every night you thought you would not make it through, was preparing you for this version of yourself. The version that refuses to fall again. You are not the same person they tried to destroy. You have faced the fire and come out forged, not burned. You have learned that power is not about being perfect. It is about standing tall after everything tried to bury you. You are proof that darkness can be a beginning, not an ending. They made me a monster so they could sleep at night. But the truth is, I am not their nightmare anymore. I am my own revolution. Watch me rise. This is Phantom Focus. We do not escape the darkness. We master it. Every scar is a reminder that you survived what was meant to destroy you. If the world tried to break you, let it watch as you rise higher than before. Monsters are not born. They are created through pain, molded by fire, and strengthened by silence. This is where the broken become unstoppable. This is where you rise,